Hello and welcome to Colin Bradley Artcast. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Oh, this is a very special show. People don't realise what's coming up, but this is something that we've been planning for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really exciting to be able to talk about it finally and reveal it.
I have. I've been chomping at the bit, as you know, with the last podcast we've been doing, I think.
And we've been teasing
Hold
people.
back, Colin.
We've been teasing people a little bit as well, haven't we?
Yeah.
Throughout, talking about Pastel, Matt, talking about this and that. Well, finally, we can reveal what it's all about and what's to come. So we're launching we'll talk about it in a moment throughout this podcast, but in a brief summary, we're introducing a new section on the website for all in members only called demonstrations. And these pictures are, in one word, stunning. It's unlike anything anyone's ever seen before. No holding back. This is incredible to watch. So let's start, because the first picture, which people would have hopefully seen by now, it'll be on the website, it'll be on the Facebook page. You can check it out while you're listening to this. We're going to talk about the first demonstration, which is constables. What's the actual...
The cornfield.
The cornfield. So why constable? Why did you choose this demonstration of the cornfield from Constable, and why him?
Well, first of all, why Constable? Well, as people would know, if they're regulars and have known me a while, I'm a great Constable fan. I started off in the National Gallery, as people know from the art story. I saw his work there and was bowled over by it. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, one day I would love to do that. Not realising, I was practical, not realising I would be able to, but one day. So it's really come full circle. Why Constable? He's a great artist, and there's nothing about his work that you can look at and think, yeah, well, that's okay, but his skies were great, his trees were phenomenal, his characterizations were out of this world. And one of the things I remember looking at his pictures in National Gallery, I got as close as I possibly could to the picture, and I didn't understand how he can create a character with just splashes of a paintbrush. That's all it was. Twist here, twist there, and he had a character. But I realised that that's where the mastery is. That's where the true artist comes from. It's something that you have inside you that you can see and understand exactly how you want that character to present themselves to be alive. Difficult to explain. You've got to see it. So this is really why Constable. His animals were great. His a lot of his work was impressionistic in terms of it didn't put every blade of grass in, it didn't put every leaf in, but it looked like he did. That's the difference between him and a lot of the other impressionistic pictures who didn't worry about so much. Monet particularly didn't worry about that, but still they were still great artists in their own right. So that's why Constable. He fitted me like a glove.
And you can really see the influence in his style in your work.
You can.
It's very much you're the John Constable of pastel pencils.
I think you're probably right there. Well, I certainly wouldn't have been presumptuous enough to say that, but now you said it, you're probably right. I have been influencing, but was influencing from the beginning, and still am. A lot of the work, but I never even dreamed that pastel pencils could produce the kind of results that people would have seen in this picture.
That leads us on really nicely to the next question. So with this demonstration, which materials did you use, and why is it so different from your other work?
Right. Well, if I'd have been sticking with the ombre and restricted to the colours that I have in the Faber range, I probably couldn't have done it. It's because when we decided to start a new demonstration section, I thought, okay, this is a demonstration only. We don't expect people to do this picture. However, as you know, I'm giving them a line drawing. If they want to have a go at it, they can. But they've got to remember that this is going to be extremely difficult to do. However, it's there, but it's there as a demonstration to show how good the pastel pencils are if you broaden your range, which is what I did. The range I had was the normal Faber range, and I introduced some Creta colour and some Swan Stabilo Carbothello pencils. They're the only three makes, but people, when they look at the picture and they have other makes, they can put the suitable colours in. It's just that I wasn't going to restrict myself. Had I done, I wouldn't have been able to produce the picture. It's as simple as that. So that's the first thing. So you've got to expand the range. I decided, having done, I must have done about a dozen pictures before I tackled this, and you're going to see them all eventually on the website, eventually. So that gave me practice.
A dozen pictures on Pastel Mat?
On Pastel Mat.
So the key difference with this one and the Ombre is the difference the Pastel Mat's made.
Pastel Mat yes. Pastel Mat, and I found that the colour that suited me best was the dark grey. For some reason, I'd used the green and I'd used the blue, and they worked very well. But this particular picture needed the dark grey, and armed with that, it was it worked really well. It meant that I could lay the colours one after the other onto the pastel mat and create a depth, which I probably wouldn't have been able to do on a lighter colour. So this is the reason I chose the dark grey. And the other reason is that I used the white trace down that we have. Now, with the dark grey, you can, but it doesn't work if you use the graphite.
You can't really see a pencil line.
You can't see it, for one thing. You'd be lost completely. So the white trace down worked really well. But here came another problem. You can imagine how intricate the picture could have been with the cornfield. There's so much detail in there. And trying to draw it as you would draw a picture, and you've seen me do animals and landscapes before, where I put a lot of detail in and then erase it slightly so that I can fill it in and not have the graphite affect the pastel. Can't do that with Pastel Mat and the white trace down. What you get is an outline only, just the outline. So you have to do a lot of creativity, and a lot of thought has to go into each section of the picture you're doing. You can't just go around it, fill in the detail, fill in the lines. So you've got a lot of work to do, but that was an advantage. So really, I was going back to what the constable would have done originally. He would have put his wash on, and it would have been a darker wash on his canvas, and then he would have used a paintbrush, I expect, or charcoal, whatever he decided to use, to give himself outlines. Now, when you put oil on top of the outlines, you can't see it anymore. It's gone.
Yeah.
So you have to be creative within that.
Because you can't do that with pastel pencil.
No.
You can't just layer it and it's gone.
No, you can't. Well, actually, I was actually doing that. One of the advantages I had by having the dark grey, though, if I was doing, say, a face, for instance, I could leave traces of the pastel paper or the pastel mat showing through, so I could see where my lines were. In other words, put the white on, then I'd put a darker colour for the stronger tones. I don't have to explain it. You can see that later on.
Yeah, you'll see it.
You see the demonstration. But this changed the way I worked. And it also, as soon as I started, I realised that this was going to be hard for people to pick up because you have to have a lot of experience really to understand it. However, one of the other things that I found when you're doing clouds, for instance, I mean, people have seen my clouds. People say, well, you make a good job of clouds, but you've got a restriction on the ombre. I know I've done sunsets and darks and clouds before, but the the clouds of Constable's pictures need a lot more intensity. And this is where I thought, well, okay, Pastel Mat will give me that. It did.
Why is that? Is because you can put more pastel on?
Yes, you can put more on. Although you've still got a restriction, you still cannot keep putting it over and over and over like oil or acrylic. You can't do that; it won't work. And you have to put base colours on too. People think, oh, you don't need to do that anymore. You do need the base colour needs to go in, and then the colours subsequently on top. So you still work from light to dark.
Pastel pencils are still translucent.
They are.
They're still the same medium. It doesn't change the medium, just changes the application.
No. However, what happens is the effect that you see almost immediately, as soon as you start putting it together, you see immediately something different about it. Now, if you've got the experience, then you can manipulate, that's the best word I can go, you can manipulate the pastel pencil to work like oil. And when you see close up when I'm doing the trees or the foliage and the branches and all the other bits and pieces, you'll see it looks like oil, actually, when I finished it. So you're getting the same kind of effect. Well, it has to. If you want to produce the cornfield like Constable does, you've got to make it look like oil, which it does. And that's only because we have the combination of the three things. We have the pastel pencil range, which is extensive. You've got the pastel mat paper, the dark colour, and you've got the white trace down, which gives you the three ingredients really that go to make it up. The only thing that we can't give you is the skill.
So that then nicely brings on to the next question. So these demonstrations are designed for, if you're going to follow them, for a certain skill level. What was your reasoning behind doing these demonstrations originally? Because demonstrations that you've done in the past out on the road, in art groups and such, it has been a demonstration. They've not followed you. They've just been watching what you can do.
Absolutely.
And felt inspired.
That's right.
Is that the focus that you were coming at with this?
Exactly. That's exactly it. The idea is I wanted to show how good the pastel pencils were. When I used to do my demonstrations at the shows and at the art shows and all over, I was there to sell the idea of the pastel pencil. And this is what I'm doing again. I want people to be inspired to see how good they are. They're not just a throwaway medium. Oh, well, yeah, they're only a pencil, you know. They're only a pencil. Not any longer, they're not. Now they are a force to be reckoned with. And I really don't think there is another medium that could, other than oil, that could have produced it. Okay, you say, well, yeah, but if I got oil paints, I'd be able to do it. No, you won't. To do oil painting to the level that we have in Constable, I couldn't do it. I really couldn't do it. If you said to me, there you are, Colin, all the oil paints, there's your brushes, now go and produce a Constable, like the cornfield in pastel pencils. Couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I would have to have lots and lots and lots of practice. Even then, I don't think I could have done it. There's all the colour mixing, for one thing, which you've got to master before you even begin. So no, it couldn't be done. So I think this is the only medium that could have produced the cornfield like I did.
Now, when people say if people just want to watch this, the techniques that they'll be able to watch you use and the effects that you're able to produce are really going to be something different to what they've seen before.
I would say not so much different, but a different way of utilising the same thing. It's like someone cooking a really fantastic meal with a set of ingredients. And if you are a master chef, that is going to taste fantastic. If you're just someone who's just started, it's not going to taste fantastic at all. So what you've got basically is all those ingredients I've put together, but you have to have a certain understanding of how that's put together. But I would say that if you're inspired by this, you could use some of the techniques that I'm using. You could use them on your pastel matte paper, even on your ombre. I don't think it's going to be wasted. The idea, though, is to inspire. You hit the word, you use the word inspire. And this is what I wanted to do, to inspire people to say, gosh, one day, like I did many, many years ago, one day I'd love to be able to do that. Because, I started from nothing. I had no experience at all. And my first efforts were very poor. Now I'm producing pictures to the standard that I am. It's only because I've worked at it, and I love the work that I do, and I love doing these pictures, because for the first time, really, I've been let off the leash.
Yeah, that's lovely. So let's talk about the pictures that are going to be coming up. Let's whet people's appetites. We're revealing the constable. People will be able to see that demonstration, cornfields. Where did it go from there? Well,
although we had the good idea of doing this, I didn't really, at that time, when I did the cornfield, I didn't realise just how much enthusiasm I would have to continue with it. I thought this is good. In fact, when I looked at it, Steve, my first thought, I don't know. And I looked at it and I thought, no, shall I? And then I thought, well, why not? Let's have a go at it. Because it was quite an undertaking. As soon as I started, I knew that I was going to finish it, because I was loving every minute that I was doing it. I really enjoyed it. Now, having got that far and seen the end results, I showed it to people, friends and family, and everybody just bowled over. There was no explanation. I remember your sister's partner, he looked at it and he was just absolutely lost for words. I can't believe it, he said. And he's seen my work before. And this kind of reaction is what I would expect people to see and say, good, you didn't do that with pastel pencils. No way. So that inspired me to think, right, if I can do a John Constable cornfield that people know and love, and can go to the National Gallery, because it's hanging in London, in the National Gallery, and see it for themselves, can I do it with others? And then we talked about the idea of doing this, extending it, not just as a one-off demonstration, but as a series. And from then onwards, the next one I did was the Gainsborough, Mr. and Mrs. Andrews, if anybody knows about it. I did that because I wanted to do a portrait, but I wanted to do a portrait in a landscape. The portraits were, although I'm not knocking Gainsborough at all, I wouldn't dream of that, but some of his pictures weren't that great and really wouldn't be inspirational for people to do. But Mr. and Mrs. Andrews was. It had everything in it. It had a lovely sky, it had the landscaping, it had the two central characters, and it had a dog, and it had some sheep. What more do you want? So that inspired me. What I was looking for was pictures that inspire me, and I want to do them.
Yeah.
So that's where we moved on. And then we moved on from there to the Renoir. I love Renoir. People know that. We've done a couple, haven't we, already? And they've all gone down very well. So I wanted to do one a little different, completely different, in fact, from Constable and Gainsborough. So it was very impressionistic, and that came up really well. Very, very colourful. And then, after that, we did the Monet, the puppy field. Well, people know that. Everybody knows that. It's a picture that I was going to do another Monet, I thought a less popular one that people may have seen or may not have seen. But I thought, no, let's do one that people know, just like the cornfield. They know this picture. And that came out well, didn't it? And now I'm doing another one, which is Vittorio Reggiani. Reggiani, yes.
I think that was it.
And I did a picture, people may remember actually, years ago. I did a picture and showed it on the website on the members site of a lace makers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? And I did. There is still a demonstration on the website showing the
Lace.
satin, the lace, yes, or the satin dress.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to do a bigger one, and I'm a quarter of the way through that now, Steve, and it's absolutely stunning. To whet your appetite, these three ladies are in the foreground, beautiful dresses. Obviously, they're beautiful women. He wouldn't paint anybody that wasn't. And I'm following his picture quite closely, but I'm still putting my take on it, as I'd have done with the others. But on the back cloth, there's a marble pillar, right? And even I was stunned when I'd finished it. Looking back on it, I thought, you haven't seen it yet, Steve, but I'm going to show you later. How can that possibly be? It looks like a marble pillar. So there you are.
There you go.
So you've got these. I think I've whetted your appetite enough.
There's so much to be looking forward to, everyone, and I mean, we can't wait to start showing these and showing how far you can take the pastel pencil medium. It's very, very, very exciting, and we really hope that you enjoy watching them, and as always, let us know your feedback of how you found it, of what you think of the demonstrations. But we've got some really, as you've heard, some really exciting pictures to come up.
And also, Steve, can I butt in and say that if anybody's got any particular favourite, we're talking about masters now, we're talking about not some obscure artist, it's got to be someone who is recognised and well known. And if you have a particular favourite artist, or you have a particular favourite picture that could be universally accepted, let us know.
Yeah, do. Absolutely. Well, if you're an All-In member, then you can start watching that demonstration. If it's not already out by the time this podcast comes out, it will be out very, very soon after. So check back on the website, and we can't wait to see what you think. So thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Stephen Bradley.
And I'm Colin Bradley.
Enjoy your week.